Welcome to rebelastrology.blogspot.com. I am your Rebel Astrologer, as ever, A. Dropney, so I haven't been on with the video-ness for a little bit, but I trust you have been enjoying the written blogs. If not, you should check them out, because they are super sweet. Anyway, this time we're going to talk about Nessus. Now, Nessus, we kind of talked about that in the written blog today, the forecast that we're talking about. But I just kind of want to go back and hit it again because it's a kind of a cool subject, kind of an unusual subject, a little bit obscure in astrology. At any rate, it is a member of a group of bodies that we like to call. Is this still going? Okay. That we like to call the centaurs. And the centaurs, just like in mythical astrology, were kind of wild and crazy, out of control. And they have these orbits that are irregular. By that I mean they kind of swing into other people's orbits and they swoosh around a little bit more. They're not that concentric thing. Pluto is a little bit like that too, but not to the extent that the centaurs are. Centaurs, for the most part, it gets sketchy. Centaurs, for the most part, are move through the outer atmosphere, outer solar system, Saturn, beyond. A couple of them get to the inside of Saturn, but for the most part, they're the outer. So there they are, and therefore they move very slowly. And even though when they do get on this side of Saturn, they get barely on this side of Saturn, and then have much more elongated orbits. So just like Pluto, that moves through different signs in irregular amounts of time, so too do our centaurs. And our centaurs have an interesting thing about them. They are rulers over kind of emotions gone wild, with possibly the exception of Chiron. And we'll set Chiron aside. You can read the blog on that. Chiron's kind of a situation unto itself, unique among the centaurs. In reading as well as in mythology, he was the most civilized of the centaurs. What the centaur we're talking about today is not a civilized centaur, but you always make the anti-venom from the venom. So you could say that while Nessus rules over vendettas, blood feuds, historical animosities, dark family secrets, all those kinds of things, you can also say, in the same note, that Nessus rules over healing in a way, forgiveness, probably a better thing, the airing out. And in this way, he kind of resonates to Pluto, because Pluto deals with kind of dark secrets, and they are buddies. Basically, if you look at the way Nessus orbits around the sun, it goes right up to the edge of the orbit of Saturn, but doesn't get to the orbit of Saturn. Encompasses the orbits of Neptune and Uranus, or Uranus, and brings those thoughts together and brings them out to the edge of Pluto. And so he kind of talks, but basically what we're talking about is we're talking about the opening up of, the exposing to the air, right? And the letting go, because Uranus is all about the exposing to the air, the pushing forward, the march of time, the moving on, and Pisces is all about the letting go, the transformative, the moving on, right? Like, so together it's like the ultimate wash, wash, wash away. And it's setting it at the seat of Pluto, which is about personal power. Well, what's going on right now is Nessus is quintile, which is a very fascinating kind of aspect. Divisions of the wheel by 5. But quintile, it is quintile Jupiter, and will be for quite some time, because both of them move reasonably slowly. Now, Jupiter quintile Nessus gives us a marvelous opportunity, and the marvelous opportunity that it gives us is to, what's the word? Find that forgiveness. With our own internal expansion and optimism. In this case, because Jupiter's in Taurus, we're talking about an expansion that has just a comfortable speed to it and is about getting something done every day towards our goals, right? It's that very nice, watching it unfold, feeling the ground grow kind of Taurus thing with Jupiter, which is all about our expansion and in a lot of ways expanding how we're looking inside, which keys also into Nessus. Nessus is in retrograde, so it's all about looking in, right? Which is not such a bad thing for Nessus, because Nessus is about finding the roots of those hard things and pulling them to air. Nessus right now is in Aquarius. So it's a good time to be exposing it to air. Because Aquarius is all about the new. Now, careful. One thing that can really be sparked right now may be issues of, or set off, I guess is the word, is old feelings of, what's the word I'm looking for? Neglect. Things like neglect. Things, because Nessus is an Aquarius, like the stuff that's likely to get set off really good, really strongly, or if people have issues of neglect in their childhood or feelings of distance from parents, from loved ones. Aquarius being equal and having a high ideal, but also having a low threshold in the intimacy department usually. By stereotype, not saying Aquarius is, saying Aquarian energy. Be very clear about that. Nobody is an Aquarius. Some people have suns that are in Aquarius. Some people have Marses that are in Aquarius. Aquarian energy, the energy itself, is very good at the humanitarian in the big picture and has a rough time with kind of closeness on a human level. They tend to kind of back up and see yeah, I like them. Everyone's equal. Cool. I think you're right. This is a really, really good time for forgiving. And forgiving, oddly enough, like on behalf of your mother, on behalf of your father, the pain that we carry that's generational, the pain that we carry that's in our blood, the stuff that we may not even know is there. But because it's quintile, and a quintile is a marvelous aspect that has a kind of unexpected genius, I would say even magicalness to it. It's not something you can really point to and say, this is how it's going to happen, because it doesn't form in any of the regular ways. It's like two energies that don't seem to, but somehow, because they're such an odd mix, they have a certain brilliance. And that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about a Nessus. And this is like digging into the darkness of our past, old grudges of the family, grudges of history, kind of looking at that, but looking at that in that Aquarian way, bringing that to the Aquarius and saying, this was not good. This is over. The past is in the past and the future is now. And I can forgive the past because forgiveness is a gift I give myself, right? And at the same time, I can make those day-to-day, reoccurring, slow, beautiful steps forward in my internal philosophy, in what I'm achieving in life, in fact, better yet, what I believe I can achieve in life. So, let's finish this one off with a story. And the story is the centaur Nessus. Now, Hercules got himself into a heap of trouble because he accidentally killed the cupbearer of the king whose house he was staying at, and he had to split kind of all of a sudden. So him and his wife, they're running along, but wouldn't you know it, the river's flooding. So what do? Hercules, he can get across by himself, but it's all he can do to get across. But who should show up but a centaur? And he's like, oh, don't worry about it, man. I can help you out. And, she gets on his back. Hercules is going across the river. Hercules gets to the other side. Centaur is halfway across the river, and he says, hey, I kind of dig her. And he tries to have his way with her. She, of course, is not down with that, and neither, for that matter, is her husband, Hercules, who's up on the shore. Well, he pulls his bow. He fires an arrow at him. The arrow hits him, kills him. He's bleeding, and he drags himself up onto the shore with Hercules' wife. And he says to his wife, I'm so sorry, feigning that he is sorry. He doesn't really, most centaurs don't really get the idea of regret. And he says, but I have a secret for you. My blood is an elixir of love, and if you put it on the clothing of your beloved, if you soak the clothing of your beloved in it, it will make them fall in love with you. Now, not really what was going on, but we will see in a moment. At any rate, she holds on to this, and many years later, when she starts getting jealous and feeling a little bit old, she soaks Hercules' clothes in his blood. And Hercules puts them on. But it's not a love spell. It's poison. It burns him. And he jumps into the fire to relieve it and dies. And that's how Nessus took his vengeance on Hercules for killing him. And that's the story of old wounds that you don't let go of. They may even seem like a gift. They may seem to give you confidence, empower you. But really, it's better to throw it in the fire before you throw yourself in. Till next time, just riding the wave. And you can tweet us, or follow us at Twitter, at Rebel Astrologer. You can email me at rebelastrology. I'm sorry, it's rebelastrology.blogs.gmail. rebelastrologer@gmail.com. And you, of course, can hit our blog, blogspot.com, the rebelastrology.blogspot.com. Till next week. Hey, yo.